Good evening from India, where we're coming to you from the city of Varanasi, what used to be called Benares. Right now, the people behind me are attending late-night prayers at one of the 2,000 temples here in one of the holiest places in Hinduism. But it is also the constituency of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, so just the place to begin our journey from north to the south of the country, covering what's become a bitter battle for the soul of India, the general election. Almost 900 million people can vote over a period of 5 weeks at around 1 million polling stations. Over 450 parties are battling for one of 545 seats in India's lower house of parliament. Narendra Modi's party, the Hindu nationalist BJP, is defending its majority of 282 seats. The main opposition Congress party, led by Rahul Gandhi, is hoping to win enough seats to form a coalition to make him Prime Minister, a job previously held by his father Rajiv, grandmother Indira and great-grandfather Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, Varanasi lies in Uttar Pradesh, the most populous state in India, with 200 million people, and which sends the most MPs to Parliament. It is strong BJP territory, right in the Hindi heartland. Varanasi is where Hindus come to escape the cycle of reincarnation. They bathe in the river Ganga to be cleansed of their sins. They come here to die or are brought to be cremated, believing they will be liberated from rebirth to achieve a state of bliss. Politics is religion here too. A street army of volunteers spread the cult of Modi. They believe only he can deliver India's 7% growth, new roads, electricity and gas, all bound up in an India-first Hindu identity to terrify Pakistan. But on the streets, it's more simple. If anyone isn't a Modi fan, they aren't saying.
He is doing everything better for our country. Everything. He is doing everything better for us.
Where are the jobs?
There is you ask anyone, I am a businessman. He is a businessman.
And Modi is popular here, having helped bring more than £2.5 billion of central government spending to Varanasi. It's no surprise. But for every fact, there's a fake one too, and they're just as important. The streets may be ancient, but this is a very modern election, with nearly 900 million voters to reach. The only way to do that is over the internet. This is an election being fought on smartphones. Debashish Bhattacharya runs a pharmacy just a few yards away from the riverbank.
Here, appeasement politics, appeasement for Muslims. See Rahul Gandhi.
His Facebook and WhatsApp are full of pro-Modi and anti-Gandhi stories, much of them fake.
He is actually for mosques. He is not for mandirs.
Yes.
He is not for temples.
Oh, I see. You mean he favours the Muslims?
Yes, he favours the Muslims.
Are you
only
sure?
Hindi, only Muslims. Yes.
What makes you say that?
Fact. It is fact.
But with unemployment at a 45-year high of around 7%, not everyone's won over by new roads.
A lot of people are actually noticing these changes that, okay, there never used to be street lights, but now there are street lights on the road. The roads are better. The actual change on the ground that should happen isn't there yet.
Sana Sabha is an art dealer for students at Benares Hindu University, where she was once one of the few Muslims on her course.
These are beautiful artworks made by these students who actually are struggling financially.
But having never been very aware of her religious differences before, Sana is now starting to find the atmosphere chilling.
It disturbs me that the narrative is being changed in schools among children. They are being fed with this information that it's not okay to be friends with a Muslim. Muslims should be sent to Pakistan.
But you definitely feel that India is going through a change.
It is. I'm actually a huge fan of Second World War, the movies made on that time. Something that I followed for my thesis. I find a lot of similarity of what happened in Germany to what is happening in India right now.
Really?
Yes.
It's a shocking comparison. But at the local HQ of Rahul Gandhi's Congress party, I meet a politics teacher who claims he just quit his job in a private school after being ordered to teach children to support Modi.
What happened? It was told to everyone, even to the teachers, to appeal to the parents and even to the students to vote in the favor of BJP.
Congress Party!
The Congress candidate taking on Narendra Modi in Varanasi arrives to cheers. He stands on a platform of tackling unemployment with public investment, a radical minimum income guarantee for India's poorest 20%, and a fight for a secular India. The BJP say that you use minorities as a vote bank, that you will say things to attract Muslims or lower castes or Christians or whoever it is, just because you want their votes. They call that appeasement. What is it?
That's what the BJP does. They never ask for votes based on their merits. They divide people on caste lines and class lines when they do politics. We unite people. The Congress party is like a banyan tree which shelters everyone. Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists and Jains. Everyone sits under this tree and they have a drink of water and rest. This is what the Congress does and the BJP can't do.
With exit polls banned and 2 phases of voting to go, this election is suddenly harder to call than anyone expected. Well, I've been speaking to Jayati Ghosh, who is Professor of Economics at India's elite Jawaharlal Nehru University. A well-known critic, she explained why she feels Narendra Modi's government has failed.
He promised the younger generation jobs. He promised them a modern India in which opportunities would be available for anyone who actually was willing to work hard. He promised an India that I think would deliver justice. He's given the opposite. He's given a situation of much worse employment prospects, really dark and scary employment prospects, a situation of much greater division because unemployment also leads to much more social tension and nastiness in general. So caste-based violence, gender-based violence, religion-based violence, all of these are on the increase.
But in an era of automation, what are India's young people going to do?
You know,
Nobody's got the answer to that, have they?
You know, I think automation, can I be completely honest, it's a big bogey to scare workers with. To give you one example of how the knowledge of a technology doesn't necessarily translate into its use. We are a country that still massively uses manual scavenging. To put it crudely, humans picking up. We still use it. Even the official agencies of the government, the railways, still use it. Why do we still use it? The technology to do this in a mechanized fashion has been available for 100 years. We do this because we have a system of caste discrimination that allows underpaid, subhuman conditions for workers of the lowest castes. So they're cheap. Jobs change over time. Technology changes the nature of jobs. It doesn't necessarily wipe out jobs. If jobs are wiped out, that's because your macroeconomic policies are a mess. That's the fault of the government's macroeconomic policies. And that's as true of Britain as it is of India. Don't blame the technology, blame the government.
Right, but all of those middle-class jobs in services, from call centres to financial services, they're all going to go over time. You don't need any of those people.
Sure.
So what are those middle class people, that new middle class, what are they going to do?
Well, there are so many jobs if you actually have creative spending for it. Particularly there are jobs in the care and creative industries. These are 2 sectors where you cannot get away from relational activities. That is to say, in the care work you can have technology assist you, but you can't do without the human being. Creative industries, same thing.
If there have been so many economic disasters, why is the BJP doing so well?
I think one of the other tragedies of the last 5 years is the injection of poison into Indian society. One of the things the BJP has been able to do is to create a system of deep insecurity, alarmingly, in the majority community, and a kind of notion of otherness, whereby you feel that you are always being threatened by these minorities, Muslims, Dalits, and so on. You're being threatened, and so only this party will preserve you and your rights vis-a-vis these others. It's that, unfortunately, which I think is what it's relying on now. And it's no longer dog whistle, it's out in the open. They are saying it blatantly and openly. it doesn't mean that the majority of India supports it.
Doesn't it tell you something, though, about the incompetence of the opposition?
Sure. But you know, I think it's very easy for us always to blame the opposition when you realize that they are up against this massive juggernaut which has got financial power that we have never seen before in India.
But is Rahul Gandhi credible?
Oh, absolutely.
As a Prime Minister?
Absolutely, much more so than Mr. Modi. Because in fact what we have is a megalomaniac monster, I'm sorry, who has amazing PR and is able to convince people that there is no alternative. That's nonsense. In India, we have always done better with non-megalomaniac, non-self-obsessed leaders.
But isn't it pathetic that the Congress party is still reliant on the Gandhi name?
Yes, it is. And I do believe there should have been other leaders. Having said that, if you look at Rahul Gandhi's recent speeches, the way he has emerged, I think he's not doing too badly. He's doing as well as a bunch of other leaders in India whom I do actually respect.
Well, I've also been speaking to the BJP's national spokesperson, Nalin Kohli. I put it to him that the big failure of Mr. Modi was unemployment.
How would you say that? Because our counter narrative is, if we go, what is employment, for example? If you look at government jobs, yes, they will keep declining over a period of time because that's been a consistent movement towards reduction of government, more governance, less government.
Unemployment is at a 45-year high from your own official figures.
That's what some economists are saying.
Well, it's what the official figures say, isn't it?
Yes, some economists are using that official figures, and I'm also adding to it. I'm saying we just don't have enough statistics to be able to arrive at that conclusion, and I'm giving you a counter narrative.
You're just suggesting it's not true.
I'm not
there's an
suggesting.
employment crisis.
I'm saying it's not true. Have you gone into every city? Have you done a survey of every member? You can't extrapolate.
That's a ridiculous way to defeat economic arguments, isn't it? I mean, of course you can't talk to
No, I'm giving you the counter. It's also, and it's equally ridiculous for them to base that as an economic argument to say this is the real situation.
If the economy is doing so well, why has the election argument shifted from development into nationalism and Pakistan and Muslims?
Well, Muslims are not part of the narrative. I would reject that. Pakistan, in terms of national security, has been, in many elections, it's not the first time, that it is an epicenter where terrorists do conglomerate. Osama bin Laden was living just a couple of kilometers away from their headquarters in Abbottabad. Whether it's ISIS or whether it's the Al-Qaeda specifically, their various routes tend to reach back to Pakistan. So in that context, there's an impatience in India that we are not going to be on the receiving end forever.
But can your party be trusted to look after minorities?
Show me a single scheme of the government of India under Prime Minister Modi that has gone out of its way to favor any community or disfavor anyone else. Not one example is there. Now the next comes is people speak their mind and those statements are blown out of proportion. Have you heard the Prime Minister say something? Have you heard the Prime Minister say this is our policy which is in any way...
But the Prime Minister doesn't run everything.
The Prime Minister runs this country, and so does the Cabinet
not
on collective
a micro
responsibility.
level. This country's too big to be run by one person, as you know.
That's fair.
So this country is run by all people.
So therefore, show me an example which any of the BJP governments in any state.
Maneka Gandhi was filmed saying to a group of Muslim voters that they had to vote for her or they would face the consequences. When you come looking for jobs, I won't be.
And she was censored by the election commission.
Faithfully. Well, you asked me for an example.
So I've said she's been censored.
And I've given it to you. So that's an example of what goes on here.
Okay, I can give you other examples of people speaking. Things that you may and I may not agree with in that sense, but then my counter argument to that is, that's not the policy of the BJP.
The real issue here, though, is that this election is being fought on social media, on WhatsApp and Facebook, not just in official speeches by Mr. Modi. And there is a lot of poison.
Is it unique to the BJP? Is it unique to India?
No, it's not.
Or even India?
No, and that's the point. We are in a new age.
Yes.
I'm not saying that this is your official media, but I'm saying the point is you have an army of people out there who are BJP supporters who are spreading lies. And your candidates are the beneficiaries of that. Now, I can't hold you personally responsible for that.
You can't.
But I can ask you, are you happy to take those votes that are won as a result of it?
Well, that's a new definition of democracy, because we don't have another system. It's not about happiness or unhappiness, about the nature of the votes that come your way. This is British parliamentary democracy that is practiced in the world's largest democracy, and that's India, in which it's very clear. It's first past the goal post. It's not about who is voting for you, the quality of the vote.
If it's won online?
No, one minute, hold on. So therefore, that's something It can open up to a global discussion on what can we evolve all of us towards how do we improve democracy.
Well, this is a global discussion. That's why I'm talking to you about it. I mean, the point is, you could win an election here with lots of voters believing things that just aren't true.
But that's, again, this is true for any democracy in the world. It's not unique to India.
Nalin Kohli, the BJP spokesman. Well, the Indian media here is, of course, dominated by the election and the increasingly personal attacks between Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. A row continues over the PM calling his opponent's father, the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, who was assassinated in 1991, the most corrupt politician in India. Also in the news is Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi. He's been cleared of sexual harassment. But there were protests at the Supreme Court today in Delhi after the judgment. The woman who made the complaint decided to withdraw from proceedings, saying she did not expect justice from it. Well, that's the news from India tonight.